Hey guys, so something that I found really interesting and information that I learned from the book was when they were discussing how flexibility in older adults becomes diminished. And I thought that that was something that's interesting because a lot of times most of us in the class we're pretty young and we're pretty fit, and we don't often think about what it's going to be like to get older. But I think part of wellness, and when you go into a wellness center, you see a lot more elderly people in there, and they're working out and they're stretching. And I think stretching in adults, elderly adults, the older adults is really important. And something they were talking about was how a lot of them can't move their necks, and a lot of them can't move their backs to look behind them, and it makes things more dangerous. It makes everyday activities more dangerous and driving. And I think something that was really interesting was how the muscles and tendons in their body are plastic, and they can plastically elongate, whereas when you warm up and you stretch before, and that's elastic stretching or elongation of your muscles. So that was really interesting, and how it relates to preventing and rehabilitating lower back pain. I thought that that was something that was really interesting, especially for myself, somebody who's had lower back problems, and even in my neck. I'm a football player, and sometimes I have a lot of neck problems and spine problems, and notice that stretching and stuff is important. And I have a grandpa who's 100 years old, so I feel that all my grandparents are in their 90s, so I feel like I'm gonna live a long life. I live a really healthy lifestyle, and I want to be feeling pretty good when I'm older. So I feel like stretching is something that appeals to me. And they're talking about how posture, activity, and stretching are the things that help your back pain. And they talked about yoga, and I'll get to that with my three other points. But I thought that those were all really interesting things from the book. The first source that I found was how stretching can improve the gait in the elderly people. And that was from Christo Pawlowski and all the other people you see in the references. But to get to the point, they did 12 sessions of stretching in a group of elderly people, and all of them showed increases in step length and velocity, and a greater anterior and lateral pelvic tilt, and greater rotation. So obviously, as we get older, by stretching, we can improve the way that we move around. A lot of time I see people walking around, and they're slow, and some of them use canes and stuff, and I think stretching is going to be one of those things that help us move. It's going to increase the quality of our life. And so just moving and walking, I mean, we take that for granted a lot of times, but that's something that we need to be focused on as we get older, because we want to be able to move and do things for ourselves, and especially just the speed in which we do it. I see people, I live in Japan, and I see people here all the time, and they're really active, and they're really into Tai Chi and stuff like that. And a lot of them move. There's nobody in wheelchairs here. If you are old, you walk, even if you walk slow. It's incredible. So it's something that I see value in. The second article that I found was with Burke. You guys will see it in the references. And it was a study about elderly women and the postural control in elderly women with osteoporosis, a comparison of balance, strengthening, and stretching exercises. And what they were looking at was they had 50 women who were 65 or older with osteoporosis, and they broke them into three groups. And over time, obviously, the group that did the stretching and the group that did the strengthening showed the most improvements. And they had increased dorsiflexion, strength in the knee, extension, velocity, and directional control. And strengthening and stretching will increase our balance. So that was the main conclusion of that article was you don't want to fall when you're older. That's how you break bones. My mom was walking in the dark and she took a fall and she broke her arm. So I think that increasing our not only our walking but our balance and being able to move and pick things up and not take a fall, or if you trip, I mean, God, you can trip over anything, but being able to keep your balance and increase your strength as you age is something that I think is very important. And I think I see the benefits, obviously. The third and final research article that I was looking into was Patel, and the title of it is "The Effects of Yoga on Physical Functioning and Health-Related Quality of Life in Older Adults." And pretty self-explanatory. They looked at qualitative and quantitative data on people participating in yoga over the course of some time, and they came away with really a large, tremendous increase in self-rated health status, so how they feel themselves and how they view their own health, as well as their aerobic fitness and strength. So those were like head and shoulders above the rest. That those things really stood out of the people who took part in a yoga program in the elderly community that they studied. And there was mixed reviews, but improvements in sleep, depression, and bone density. There's like a lot of information out there saying that yoga helps you not be so stressed and it helps you sleep, and they saw some improvements in those areas, but not many. But what they came away with really was how taking part in a yoga program is something that can drastically be beneficial to people as they get older. So how that relates to myself, obviously, as I said before, I plan on getting old, and I play football and I take a beating, and I think that as I get older, I'm not really looking forward to doing as much in the weight room because I don't want to hurt myself, and I need to come up with creative ways to keep my body in shape and get the results out of my life that I want. So I think stretching is a huge part that it's not easy for me to do. I don't like to just get up and start stretching, but I could definitely see how participating in yoga program would be really beneficial. I see a lot of, I've been to some yoga classes and I see these older men in there and their bodies look incredible and they are stretching and they're flexible, and I'm just thinking, God, that's what I want to do when I'm older. So that's what I came away with the chapter. I mean, obviously there's a lot of information, but I really wanted to focus on how I can apply this stuff as I get older. I hope you guys are all having a good week, and next time you see me, I'll be in France.